Hello and welcome to the last section of this very important knowledge area, the project resource management. In this section, we're going to be discussing controlled resources. How do you control the resources that you've put together for your project in order to ensure a successful project execution? Okay, so we're going to be learning all that in this section. So without further ado, let's go. Firstly, an overview of the control resources. The control resource phase is a critical component of project management focused on optimizing resource utilization and ensuring that resources align with project requirements. It involves monitoring, adjusting, and reporting on resource-related aspects throughout the project life cycle. Okay, now this final section focuses on resource control during project execution. You'll learn to monitor and adjust the resources to ensure alignment with the project resource management plan. Now, the techniques for performance measurement and resource optimization are explored, ensuring efficient resource utilization. Okay, so by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the objectives of resource control process, identify the inputs, tools and techniques, as well as the outputs of this process. You will also understand how this process contributes to the overall success of your projects. Alright, so let's get into the meat of the matter. Now, what are the objectives of control resources? The primary objectives include optimize resource utilization. Now, this is very key. This helps to ensure resources are used efficiently to meet project objectives. Okay, so you don't want to have misuse or abuse of resources. Okay, so that's why this is very key, a very key objective: optimizing resource utilization. Monitor resource performance. You want to track resource allocation and address issues promptly. So the resources, how are they performing, all right, within the project? So you want to keep that monitoring process in perspective. Report resource status. Communicate resource related information to relevant stakeholders. Okay, so whatever the status of your resources are, based on the assessments you've done from time to time, you should be able to communicate that status to the relevant stakeholders for your project, okay, to keep them abreast and apprised just in case you require changes at any point in time. All right, so these are the objectives that you should have in perspective in the course of this section. Now let's look at the inputs of control resources. Firstly is the project management plan, and this provides guidance for resource management and allocation. Okay, so of course you're going to have your basic framework, all right, for whatever it is that you're doing, and of course that framework is a project management plan. Resource calendars. Now these are details on resource availability and allocation schedules. All right. Work performance data. Information on resource performance and utilization. So like I said, periodically you need to have that performance assessment. Okay, So from there you get the work performance data. Alright, so what are the tools and techniques that you use for this sub-process? Performance reviews, regular assessments of resource performance against project expectations. So you must have your project expectation at the front burner of your mind. Alright, and this is the expectation is going to be the standard for measuring the performance of your team members during the assessment. So you're going to be benchmarking performance against the expected standards, all right, which is the project expectation, the project requirements, okay, stakeholder requirements and all that. All right, so performance reviews, project management software, utilization of tools for tracking and managing resource allocation. So you're going to need those software, all right, for managing project. We have quite a number of those software, so you just find the one that is most relevant to your project and also simple enough for the project team members to be able to utilize. Resource leveling, adjusting resource allocation to optimize utilization and prevent over allocation. Okay, so you have to have this adjustment in terms of your resource allocation to optimize how they are being used. Okay, issue logs. Now these are documentation of resource related challenges and the resolution. Like I mentioned before, this is going to feed into the organizational process assets, okay, and it will provide information, you know, about resource related challenges, okay, and then also how they were resolved. All right, status meetings. And these are regular meetings to discuss and update resource related information. Now from time to time you're going to have these status meetings. Most times, you know, project managers, they get too busy, and then of course also with their stakeholders and team members. All right, but this is something that has to be made provision for. Right, you have to set out times, specific times during the week, during the day, for you to have status meetings. Okay, and it will be an opportunity for you to observe, you know, and then catch on anything that may have been overlooked. Right, so these are very important. So what are the outputs from this process? First is the work performance information. These are insights into resource performance and utilization. So with this document, you're going to know how the resources have been performing so far and how they have been utilized. Right? Change requests. These are proposals for adjusting resource allocation based on project needs. So as a project evolves, right, especially getting towards its completion, you're going to find that there are areas where you may need to make adjustments. Okay, so that's where change requests comes in. Project management plan updates, revisions to resource management strategies. Right, so once you have your project execution ongoing, so from time to time you're going to need to update the project management plan, right, based on new information that's been available, right, that was not available at the time of putting together the project management plan. Project documents updates. These are updated records reflecting changes in resource utilization. Okay. All right. So what are the key takeaways from this section? Efficient resource management. Proactively manage and prioritize resource allocation throughout the project. So this is something you have to do proactively. Okay, you have to be proactive in managing and optimizing the allocation of resources, to project activities, and this must be sustained throughout the life cycle of the project. Adaptive adjustments. Now, be flexible in adjusting resource allocation based on project changes. So this is very important. All right, knowing that you're going to have changes within your project, so you need to be flexible, all right, and adaptive in adjusting your resource allocation. Transparent communication. Regularly communicate resource status to stakeholders. So this cannot be overemphasized. Regular and clear communication with your team members, with your stakeholders, is very important to project execution, successful project execution. Timely issue resolution. Address resource related issues promptly to prevent delays. Okay. Continuous monitoring. Regularly monitor resource performance to ensure alignment with project goals. All right. Mastering the control of resources contributes to project success by ensuring that the right resources are available at the right time in the right quantities. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this knowledge area. It's really been interesting, informative, educative, as well as exciting in this section. Hope you've gathered quite a bunch and you're well equipped for successful resource management for your project execution. Okay, so ensure that you have it all in perspective. All right, and when you're done, head right straight to the quiz section to test your knowledge, all right, in this particular section. So I'll see you in the quiz section, and when you're done with that, you move straight up to the next model. Cheers.